right, hey, we're here. Dumb Jock, episode 3. I'm here with someone you guys know, former Denver Bronco, current Cleveland Browns defensive lineman Shelby Harris. What's up, Shelby?
Man, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thanks for coming in and sitting with me today. I just got back from Broncos mini camp, OTAs.
Okay.
What's up with the Browns? Like, what's your schedule like? Are you going back to minicamp OTAs? Where are you at in your progression for year 11, right? You're going into year 11.
Yeah, year 11, man. I've been around a while, so, they're in OTAs right now. I'm at home just, I like to work out in Denver with the altitude, and then also it's family time. Just being around all my 4 kids and my wife and just relaxing, just trying to enjoy this last bit of family time we get before we actually have to, get started.
So going into year 11, like, what is that build-up for you like? Because you know what to expect. Your body, how's your body feeling after all that football?
Knock on wood, I've never had a surgery in the NFL.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, I had one surgery my freshman year. I tore my labrum in my shoulder. Mm-hmm. Other than that, I've been lucky and blessed to not really get hurt. So my off seasons are really just like little maintenance stuff. Like this off season, I'm working on trying to get my ankle mobility right. And just that's a big focus because changing defenses, coming from that 3-4 scheme that Denver ran for so long, and then going to Seattle, we ran that there. The Cleveland, all we do is just get off and just his whole idea is just get off and just disrupt. You know what I mean? So then for that one, you really got to be able to change direction. So I just want to make sure my ankles are right. Just working on the small stuff that you don't have time to work on during the season, while also obviously doing the training and the running and all that stuff. But this is a time where you're trying to better yourself from last year.
Yeah, it's funny you talk about ankle mobility because people, at home listening, they're not that's something they would never understand, right? Like you're going through a different system as a D lineman, and because of that different system, you need different ankle flexibility. Like it's asking different things from your body. Plus, you're a big dude, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much you weigh?
315.
315 pounds, and so when you're exploding, that ankle joint is really kind of what's dictating your ability to get upfield, right?
Yeah.
So as you get older and you do learn the little things that you need, how has your training changed in the off season? I mean, what did you do at the beginning of your career versus like each year you learn a little more? Like, how has that adapted for you?
Well, I would say in the beginning, it's crazy because in the beginning I took a longer break than I do now. Like when I first, those first couple off seasons, I would take a good month off or whatever. Now it's kind of like 2-3 weeks and then you start the cardio. At least, you know what I mean? Like you at least start something. Because, as a lot of athletes know, it's easier to maintain than it is to get it all back.
Yeah.
So, could 2-3 weeks off kind of heal the body up, depending on, obviously what, how you're feeling at the end of the year. But like then for me, it's just like a casual incline, of what we're about to do. It's first you start off with, I started with a couple of different PTs working on my ankles, elbows, and everything like that. The stuff that D linemen need to be successful. Then go up and then you start, really starting hitting the running. And then for me, the last thing I really start hitting is heavy weights, because it's only so much stronger I'm going to get.
Right.
And I guess big dudes and little dudes, they train differently.
Oh, yeah.
But the one main thing that happens is everyone runs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just a difference on how you're going to lift and how you're going to, how you're going to approach it. But my biggest thoughts during the off season is, I can lift whatever. It's all about the running. You got to get all that running into the off season because that conditioning, you have to take the strides in the off season because when you go during the season, man, you're already screwed if you're not in shape.
Yeah, and you talked about training at altitude, right? So I remember when I started off with the 49ers. I was in camp with the 49ers, got a tap on the shoulder. It said, we're trading you to the Broncos. So the next morning I was here. And I thought I was in shape, right? And then all of a sudden, I was playing receiver. I was, running every play of scout team that day. And I was coming back like, like you don't know what the altitude is really going to do to you. But then once you get acclimated to it, and then you go down to sea level, then you feel like Superman. Yeah, then you're like just running around and you don't even get tired, right? Do you have that feeling when
the difference is I got to come back. we play here. We play here again.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
It was just like last year. We played here too, but it was like training here. You go down to sea level, you feel great. And then, it was very humbling coming back to Denver. Coming back to Denver and, trying to play a full game here, like not as the home team.
Yeah, because those red blood cells are now acclimated to, like, wherever.
Man, it was trash. But, it's just and that's why I've been a big sayer of through any sport in Denver. No Denver team should ever lose at home. Like, that should be an automatic win. If Denver is playing at home, That should be an automatic win because no matter how much you prepare, now there are the randoms that say, "Oh, I don't feel it," and I call bullshit. But that's what I'm saying. But it's
it was like Russell Wilson, like he didn't get jet lagged. Do you remember?
Yeah. Oh yeah. See, that's the thing. Is like we all know it's a lie. You know what I mean? So
I don't need sleep.
Yeah, but
maybe he did need sleep.
Yeah. We'll see. I should be able to get him. Twice. We play him twice this year.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's an interesting situation they got going over there because Russ has never had it before, where a quarterback's right behind him,
right,
like ready to take his job the minute that anything goes on. So that's I can't wait to see something like that. But the altitude it's nothing like it. And if you have the opportunity to train in it, that's why you got to think. That's why you have Olympic training centers up in this, like up here. You have all those type of facilities because they know the top athletes. Like if you can come here and train and get in shape, then you can go anywhere and be fine.
Well, yeah, a lot of fighters, right, train up here, or at least train in altitude, and a lot of D linemen in particular do MMA type of training. Have you ever gotten into that kind of stuff?
I box.
Yeah, you do.
I do boxing workouts. The MMA, I've done some like kickboxing and stuff like workouts, but man, that was.
So how effective is that when like an offensive lineman trying to get hands on you to have that kind of training?
Well, it's just you're aware of your body, and that's the best way I can put it is you're just very aware of your body. Of, if someone reaches out, you it's not a second thought.
It's instinctive. It's
instinctive.
The wax on, wax off.
Yeah, it's instinctive because you've just been working it, and it's not even just football drills, basketball. Like, if you're doing boxing or anything like that, your hand-eye coordination. You don't miss them. You know what I mean? When you're trying to swipe hands down, like you're very precise with it, and that's why I like boxing and stuff like that, because also it's a whole different type of cardio.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
shoulders
are dying,
yeah.
you're over here trying to catch your breath, and that's football. In some aspects too.
How important is flexibility for you at your position? Do you do a lot of yoga? Do you do a lot of stretches? How do you approach that?
I stretch a lot. I usually have somebody come stretch. I would say I'm very flexible, and that's kind of what keeps me out of injuries.
Yeah.
And that's why I always tell a lot of like the young players, I'm like, you need to always work on your flexibility. Always work, find a stretcher, find somebody, because the way you get the torn hamstrings or anything like that is usually like your body gets put in a position that is it's not comfortable for,
right?
And then something pops,
right?
You know what I mean? So I'm big on stretching. I'm big on flexibility because I feel like that's how the one thing I always heard when growing up, I'm sure you heard this, your best ability is availability.
Oh, yeah.
So anything that you can do to stay on the field longer, you got to do it because that's how you get paid in this league.
Yeah.
Is, the guys that, you played 4 years, but you've played 20 games in those 4 years.
Yeah.
That's how you end up on another 1 year prove it, another 1 year prove it, because they got to see you can make it through the season.
And the average career in the NFL is only 3.5 years.
Actually, I think it's like 2.8.
It's going down.
No, it's going down now.
So why is it going down? What accounts for that? Because there's guys like you who play for 11, but then there's like 11 guys who play for 1.
I've had this saying a long time. I say these college kids are so soft.
Yeah.
Coming out.
So they're getting softer.
And they get in there and they treat them like pros in college, and they come in the league and it's a reality check.
Yeah.
Because you're playing with grown ass men.
Yeah.
And no one's going to make you do anything. No one's going to sit here and baby you through anything. It's on you to do. If you want to be great, here's the facility. Go. You know what I mean? And it's I think the toughness, not even really tough, the way of the college game now. It's very rarely any teams are just hard nosed run the ball.
Yeah.
Because when things get tough in the NFL, you shit me not, you think they're not going to be running the ball.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just the trenches are getting worse. The O-line, D-line, because
in college,
because in O-line,
it's all shotgun.
All they do is pass block.
Yep.
All they do is pass block.
Yep.
And then all the D-linemen, all they want to do is pass rush. Which in general, pass rushing and pass blocking have both been getting better. But when it comes to run defense and run blocking, it's atrocious. And these young guys just aren't. And then even then, the game is evolving, and I feel like in college, you're more likely to thrive off your athleticism instead of actually learning the game. These coaches aren't teaching the game; they're just trying to win their game.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So that's why you get certain guys. You get the Alabama guys who come in and they know how to work. The Georgia guys come in and know how to work. But then there's a lot of these schools who they don't put their players in the best position to be successful in the NFL.
So, as that relates to quarterbacks, what you were just talking about, a lot of these 6 quarterbacks went in the top 12 or whatever just now. Bo Nix, number 12 to the pick number 12, the sixth quarterback taken. But these quarterbacks are having a hard time in the NFL. These guys who everyone thinks is going to be some generational franchise quarterback, he ends up falling on his face in the NFL. Part of that, I think, is what you're talking about, the transition from college. The game is so much different. They're in shotgun. They got an RPO. They got one read. They're reading one guy. They're not reading the whole field. They're never under center, right? They're not really committing to the run. Have you noticed, why do you think these quarterbacks are not playing well in the NFL when they have these fantastic college careers?
I think it's more of what they're asked to do in college. You got to think of, a knock I've always heard about Bo Nix is that, at Oregon, it was all screens and short passes. And so that's why you have a high completion percentage. But then when it comes down to actually making your read, I don't know anything about him making his reads or anything like that. But when it comes down to all these other quarterbacks making their reads and doing shit like that, then it's like everyone's slow. It's like, and in the NFL, even a millisecond slow is, that's the difference between a strip sack and a touchdown.
Yeah.
And so it's just, but also when it comes to quarterbacks, and I've always said this even about Drew Lock, because I believe Drew Lock got ran out of here way too early, has all the tools to be a starting quarterback in this league.
Okay.
It's about consistency. If you look at most of the great quarterbacks in this league, they've had the same coaching staff for a while.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, at least the same head coach, the same offensive system.
Yeah.
When we were here, Drew had a different offensive coordinator every year.
Drew never had a chance here, man.
And what quarterback? And that's the thing. Like, we're so quick to shit on quarterbacks. But when you have to learn a new offense, you never get to that second layer.
Yeah.
You never get to that third layer of.
Right.
I remember when I was here with Vic. I remember every year we added on another layer to the defense.
Okay.
And every year we felt like we were getting better. But with the offense, it's always like you're starting over.
Yeah.
You're starting completely over, and then you look the exact same in the games and not feel like that's why it was unfair. Everyone's like, okay, it's Drew Lock. No, it's not Drew. It's a new system every year. But then that's why you see in Seattle last year when Geno was hurt.
Yeah. It
was Drew's second year in that offense. And he sent them, and they beat the Eagles that game.
Yeah, he had a good game.
He had a great game. So that's Drew, and that's why you think the Giants are taking a chance on him.
That's what I'm saying. So you think Drew has a chance to be the starter with the Giants, and why didn't the Seahawks want him back? And why wasn't he able to beat out Geno? Was Geno that much better than Drew?
Well, also when we first got there, it was another new offense for Drew. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's once again, it was Geno's second, third year in that offense, and it was Drew's first year. So the nuances that Drew is going through, Geno's been through. Had been through that. But also, it's crazy because after Geno's start of his career and the way he kind of resurged his whole career, no one you couldn't have expected that, but.
Right.
Obviously they made the right choice in that regard, but I definitely think that Drew has all the intangibles. Like, I just remember that game when, man, we were about to beat KC, and Drew was just
trying to make a play down by the goal line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, fumbled the ball.
Yeah, but it's little stuff like that where if
you learn from that, right? And then if you have the right coaching staff, they help you learn from that, become a smarter player. And it's not about what you're going to do in year 1, 2, 3 as a quarterback. It's like year 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? Yeah. And they didn't commit to him.
No, that's it. But none of these quarterbacks are getting committed to. And so it's just, it's wild to me because these GMs and coaches, their jobs ride on these picks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if that Caleb Williams pick, doesn't work out, Ryan Poles and all them are gone. You know what I mean? These picks are literally determining people's jobs.
Yeah.
And so I understand because everyone's in the NFL so skittish about stuff, but you got to have a little faith that there's going to be jumps from year 1 to year 2, year 2 to year 3. Like, we're talking about people getting first-round picks getting replaced after a year or 2.
It's crazy.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
And that's another thing. We're talking about even if Justin Fields going to Pittsburgh or whatever. Like, what chances has he really had? You know what I mean? You don't put any weapons in front of him and then say, hey, go ball. And then when he does it, it's like, all right, well, he's obviously not the quarterback of the future. But then Caleb Williams has a whole different outlook on it. He goes in there. They have loaded up on all the weapons for him. Their O-line struggles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the
one area they kind of forgot to.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how many receivers you got. I mean, especially for a rookie quarterback. Don't you want to protect that guy?
Hey, but, I always wonder about like moves that teams make. I'm just like, did anyone play football? And like around there, that would be like, because for me, like if I was a GM, my biggest thing would be we are going to invest in the trenches.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like especially if we have a legit quarterback, the one thing that we can do, you can have one decent receiver or anything. You have to protect him because you have to be able to run the ball. In the NFL, you have to be able to run the ball for these young quarterbacks in order to throw it.
Yep.
Until they learn this game, until they learn it to a point where they're like a Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, you have to be able to run the ball for them to see it. Like one situation that everyone hated on, but I actually love it, is that Penix to Atlanta because he doesn't have to play right away. He just gets to watch, and there's no expectations of him.
But don't you need to build that roster with somebody else in that pick to
Yeah, I get it, but if you think that Penix could be that guy as aka like an Aaron Rodgers, if he sits for 3 years, it becomes a Hall of Fame quarterback, then that pick, no one's questioning that at all.
Right.
But in the short term, yes, everyone's like, well, we could have used somebody on defense or anything like that. But, if he turns out to be a star, you're never going to hear about that again.
So as a defensive lineman, what I hate, and I was a receiver tight end, I like to throw the ball, but what I don't like is when an offense comes out and goes in shotgun right away and doesn't try to establish the run at all. Because, the offensive linemen, they want to fire out, right? They want to run block to start a game and establish that they're the aggressors, right? Do they? I mean, how do you see that as a defensive lineman? Like, how does that affect your psyche if a team right off the bat is running the football and firing off at you? Does that put you on the defensive a little bit?
Well, no, because it's a couple things. So if you come out in shotgun, you make it, unless you're the Chiefs, who do same side runs out of shotgun.
Yeah.
You are telling the D lineman what blocks they're getting.
Yeah.
You make our job easy, because there's only one way usually you're going to run the ball, and that's across. So you can already figure out the blocking scheme that you're going to get, and then figure out a way to make a play. But like if you come under center, you can run it either way.
Right.
So like when I'm being across, is
in the running back's over here and he's handing it to him and he's going that way.
Yeah, he's going to it's just the read option.
Yeah.
That's the main run you have.
Right.
Now, if you go under center, you don't know what the hell you can get. You got a bunch on this side, they run it weak to the other side. Like all that stuff that shit happens in the NFL.
Yeah.
Now shotgun, there's only a couple teams that really do same side because it regards pulling your backside guards and doing stuff like that. But if a team like the Titans, the old Titans, when Derrick Henry and everybody was there, those are the teams where you got to put your big boy pants on and be ready for a dogfight, because down by 7, down by 14, if it's not the fourth quarter, they're going to run the ball.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No matter what. So that like those teams that's where you find out if you're built for this or not, especially the D lineman. Yeah. Because if you can't take that on, anyone can pass rush. Like that's you can figure out a way to pass rush because it's not that much contact. You got to be able to you have to be able to stop the run. If you can stop the run, you'll get paid.
So a running play versus a pass play. The defense that's called, are you being told in the huddle that I'm rushing the ball, I'm rushing the passer here, or I'm looking for the run, or are you just reading the play as it goes?
You got to read it, but we have keys. Like, I'll tell you, we all know. So the biggest saying, I guess one of the bigger sayings in football is, if you get tackled for a run of 3 or less, if it's a run of 3 or less on first down, it's more than likely it's pass on second down. Second and long equals pass.
Yep.
Now, if it's an incomplete pass on first down, more than likely it's going to be a run on second down to make it third and manageable, instead of having the opportunity of maybe being 3rd and 10.
Right. It's like playing blackjack a little bit.
Yeah,
like
so you have to have your IQ up a little bit, but also the biggest thing that you can tell if it's run or pass is by the stances of the offensive tackles, or because they get a little bit more of a stagger stance and their foot is more back and over here playing with their foot. That means they have to get out for pass protection. Right. And so right then you can already eliminate that it's going to be a run. Right. So then right there you automatically fastest foot out to go pass rush.
So we were talking earlier about how the average career went from 3.5, now it's 2.8, and you're talking about some of these guys coming in who may be a little softer. How's their football intelligence? Because, when I was growing up, I watched football games start to finish, right? I consume the game in I understood football situations, and the things you're talking about was part of my education. These days, like, the way kids consume football is different, right? Like, they don't watch the whole game. You know, they watch highlights, or they're just not as much a student of the game. Have you noticed that with the younger players at all, that their IQ isn't as high?
You know, the ones whose IQs are highest, the ones that play Madden. And I'm being dead serious, because you got to think those are mental reps. You're playing the coach as you're playing, so you're in all these different situations about, all right, it's a minute 30 left on the clock.
Yeah.
How many plays can I get in before, and I have one timeout left? How many plays can I get in before I have to use this timeout? Or, you know what I mean? Like, okay, like, oh, it's 10 seconds left, no timeouts, got to go to the sideline.
Right.
Like, you know, like simple stuff like that, where that's what I love about video games is, you know, even like NHL, I don't know crap about hockey, but NHL taught me a lot of it. You know what I mean? NHL taught me a lot of it. FIFA, same thing. Like, I think video games are a great way, a non-physical way of learning about stuff. And I feel like the biggest thing is, these kids, you don't know what you don't know. And I can't even act like I knew anything close to what I know now when I came in. It's just not what's harped on in the college game. But that's when the best young guys are the ones that have the good vets that come in and take the time and try to teach them about the simple stuff, like just like the shotgun back away. What do you expect? Yeah, you know what I mean? It's things. It's a ways of eliminating a process of elimination before the snap that makes it 90% of your job, and then the easy part is the 10% after the ball snapped.
And the older you get, the more you understand that stuff, but your body starts to deteriorate at the same time, and so, like, you got to have your body hold on long enough to use the intellect that you're gaining every year, and the longer you can play, the more you're in the right position to make the right play, right? You talk about some of the veterans that kind of teach you the right way to do it. You came into the league in 2014, drafted by the Raiders.
Best draft class in the last 25 years.
Is that right?
Khalil Mack, first round. Derek Carr, second round. Gabe Jackson, third round. Justin Ellis, fourth round. We had another fourth round pick, and then they had no more picks, so seventh round. Then T.J. Carey, who played 9 years, and I was seventh round. So out of the seven we had, I think 5 of us have played 10 years in the NFL.
Wow.
And so
you're saying best draft class in all the NFL, or
the
Raiders?
Other than definitely the Raiders, but other than probably that one New Orleans class that. With Kamara and all that class that Kamara was in, that was a pretty legit class. Other than that, I think we definitely have
The Broncos had a really good one. I think it was 2006. It was Jay Cutler, Tony Scheffler, Brandon Marshall, Elvis Dumerville, Chris Cooper, the offensive lineman.
Oh, cool. He was one of the coaches when I was here.
Yeah. So that was a really good one too. But the drafts are hit or miss, right? The drafts are hit or miss, and you hope you get it right. The Raiders have had a lot of bad ones too.
Well, my question, I guess, is more like, that's, I guess, why some of the people, the Chiefs evaluators are great, because they get great value out of the bottom of the draft, every year. Right. And it's just, like I said, it's so many people that lose their jobs because of the draft every year. Yeah. You got to think, if you have the number 2 overall pick and he turns out to be a bust, you're not going to be there anymore.
Well, the Broncos, I think, so there was a story that came out recently about because this writer was saying you can't really accurately grade a draft the year after. You have to wait 3 years basically to see if these guys pan out or whatever. And he graded the draft from 3 years ago, like the 2021 Broncos, and they got it. There were only 2 teams got an A+, and the Broncos got an A+ because some of their draft picks, Javonte Williams, Pat Surtain, Jonathan Cooper, Baron Browning was in that one, Quinn Miners was in that one, and so George Payton did that one, and that was his first draft. A lot of folks were pissed that George Payton didn't go for Justin Fields or a quarterback with that first pick. You were in that locker room with Pat Surtain, and what was going on? What was your reaction to that draft?
Pat Surtain made our team better instantly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not a great feeling, and that's what fans have to realize. For a vet in the locker room, it's not a great feeling when your team drafts a quarterback in the first round. More than likely, that means you're rebuilding. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's like when you don't do that, it's like, all right, that means you still feel like we could fight. You know what I mean? We can still. Was that Joe Flacco's year? Was that the Joe Flacco year?
No, I think that was a couple years before that.
Was that before?
Yeah.
No, because it's just like.
You were around for a lot of different quarterbacks, man.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, how was as a defensive player, right? And when playing for Vic Fangio, and the defensive side was good, systematically at least, and the offense was just kind of always in flux.
Well, even with Vance, when I got here, when Vance was the head coach, it was always, the defense was always the We knew we were going to be top 3 every year. It was just a matter of if our offense could just be average. And that's it. We're not asking for you to be great. We're just asking for you to be average and don't turn the ball over.
And they couldn't do that.
No. But, it's just
So how was the feeling in the locker room when that was the reality? Like do you try to get these guys going? Do you try to be like, hey man, like we believe in you guys, or was it like, man, fuck these guys, can't get it? Like
it's like not this last year with Peyton, but with Hackett. You see players kind of blowing up a little bit because the defense. What was that year? They said if the offense would have scored 17 points, they would have won like 11 games.
Yeah,
Ejiro
Evero, right?
Yeah. But it's just like. That's the feeling, but also it's a team because we know one game or a couple games down the road, we're not going to be on our shit, and the offense is going to bail us out.
Yeah.
And even if the offense isn't clicking all game, and then let's say it's 0-0, the offense isn't clicking all game, we go down and give a field goal, but then somehow the offense figures out and gets us a touchdown. That's the offense bailing us out.
Yeah.
It's a team,
right?
And we obviously hold each other to a high standard, but also what are you going to get out of yelling and bitching at them?
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like it's we have to encourage, and we have to show them we have their back, no matter the hard times. Yes, it gets completely frustrating. Don't get me wrong, it's completely frustrating, but we have to have our brothers' backs because in order for us to have any type of success in this league, we have to feel that we're in this together.
So practices are competitive, right? Or ideally. And the defense was really good and the offense wasn't. Were you kicking their ass at practice every day?
Oh, you were beating the shit out of them. I'm talking about like it was like.
Did you know based on the week of work what was about to happen on Sunday?
Well, no, because our defense was always really good, so we were expected to beat them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like our standard was we're going to beat their ass, like right, like, and you're going to be mad at us, but we're going to beat their ass. And it's always funny because coach talk. We all know coach talk. And if the offense has a great day, the coach is usually happy. If the defense has a great day, everybody had a shit day. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
unless it was Vic, because he was happy when the defense had a good day.
Oh yeah, well Vic's one of a kind. And here's the thing, Vic gets a lot of heat.
Yeah,
I love Vic Fangio.
Yeah,
he I always credit him. He was responsible for helping my career to get to where it is. I just don't understand. It's easy to go back after the fact and talk shit. You know what I mean? But I think.
Well, why do you think he gets heat?
Because Vic is not your normal coach.
Right.
Vic's not very talkative. Like Vic's not necessarily a people person.
Right.
But if you go talk to him, so it was one time he had me over because he told me to come over for something. I went to his house, and he had these like, and then we got done talking, and then he's like, I made some meatballs. You want some? I was like, man, like, and that's Vic though. Like Vic's not like he's different. But you just have to meet him on his level.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've always loved Vic. I think he's one of the smartest. I've gotten blessed the last. Well, I'd say I've had Vic Fangio as a defensive play caller, and I have Jim Schwartz now. Like there's no drop off. They're two of the best D coordinators out there. You know what I mean? So like I said, I'll never say anything negative about Vic. I think Vic's a cool guy. His humor is very dry.
Yeah.
And so you just have to, be around him for a while. Like, I got to be around him for 3 years, and so I feel like got to know him pretty well.
And you were with the Broncos for 5, right? So you bounced around for the first couple of years, Raiders. Well, not bounced around, but you were with the Raiders, and you were on and off the practice squad, right?
So I was in 2014, got drafted. I was on the Raiders for 2 years, 2 full seasons, off and on practice squad active. My first season, I was active for 3 games. I was on practice squad for the next 12 or 13. And then funny, my first game I ever played, like got into the game. Because I was active and inactive those first 3. First game, it was in Denver. It was against Denver. It was against Peyton. And then my second year, I was up and down. I got like 8 games active, back like up and down practice squad. Then going into my third year, we're about to start OTAs. I get cut, and they're like, "We're cutting you for good. Like, we're going to let you try to find somewhere new because we don't see you be making anything more than practice squad here. We want to give you an opportunity to go do something else." All right, appreciate it. So I go sign with the Jets for OTAs, and I'm there for camp. And then back then, that's when I used to go from 90 to 75 to 53.
Yep.
And then I got cut for the 75 the first cut.
Yeah.
And I go home. I'm home for 16 weeks.
Damn.
We're having workout. I had I had a workout with Seattle, the Chargers, the Titans, the Lions, the Cowboys. You know what I mean? Like, just all over, just, fighting for a job, trying to stay in.
So you get the call. They want to fly you out for a workout. You get on a plane. You go out there, do the workout, then you get right back on the plane and come home.
Yeah. So really, it's like it's pretty frustrating. To like the first thing I always say is bring all your stuff. Bring all your stuff like you're going to stay.
Is that what you were doing?
Yeah, that's what they tell you. They tell you, like, bring all your stuff like you're going to stay.
And you're like,
and
why
all
did I
right, so
pack?
I'm lugging around this suitcase, and so I'm all right. So, and then you go there, you do the workout, and then they're like, all right, like, go sit in this room, and then we're like, and they have you sit in the damn room for like an hour and a half. Like 2 hours while they're trying to figure out what they want to do. And then every time it's like,
Was it you by yourself or a group of guys?
No, it's so it's usually like a group.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's funny because then that's how I met. I don't know if anyone watched WWE, but Top Dollar, AJ Francis. Like, that's how I met AJ Francis, was through the workout scene.
Okay.
I mean, we met in a workout in Dallas. But then, I'm a free agent for 16 weeks, and then Dallas calls. So then I remember I go to Tennessee. I have a workout with Tennessee. It doesn't work out. And, like, they're just like, all right, we're like, we'll call you, which means no. You know what I mean? Everyone says that. So then I'm getting on a flight, and then my agent's calling me, but like literally we're taking off, and then he's like, "Call me when you get this," and it was Dallas. Dallas, like, we want to sign you practice squad. So then I go to Dallas, and that was the year they lost to Green Bay on Aaron Rodgers' crazy throw to Jared Cook on the sideline.
Yeah.
And then I go to Dallas. I'm there for 3 weeks. I'm there 6 weeks, 16, 17, and then they had the first round bye. And then I got cut going into the next week.
Shoot.
And then they lost because, they cut me, even though I wasn't going to play. I wasn't going to play. So then they lost. And then I signed and then I'm the free agent again. So I signed the futures with Denver. And
that was the beginning of 2017. Yeah.
And then it's been a storybook ever since.
5 years in Denver. So I'm interested, like, when COVID happened, right? Like, and Vic was the head coach. Vic didn't seem like the kind of coach who was like a Zoom coach. You know what I mean? He's old school, man. He didn't want to adhere to these new COVID-19 restriction rules. What was your memory of, like, just playing football at that time and trying to go through all the protocol, like, the social distancing and Drew Lock and all the quarterbacks couldn't play in the game and all this crap that was going on? What was that like in the locker room for you to deal with it?
Yeah, COVID was just a whole different animal. That Drew Lock thing about everyone not being able to play. Actually, I didn't even play that game. I had COVID. I pretty much missed all of November that year with COVID. But it was a tricky slope to kind of navigate.
Yeah.
It was we're humans. We want human interaction. We want to be around we've never had anything like this before. We want to be around people. We want to go kick it with our boys.
Yeah. But
then you're telling us we can't even go out to eat with 2 or more people without being an opportunity to be suspended for 3 games. You know what I mean? Like, so crap like that. So it was tough because also, like, you're going back to, like, it's like college if you had an online class.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're sitting there trying to, luckily, it wasn't my first year with Denver. I mean, with Vic either.
Right.
So I knew the defense already.
Right.
So it wasn't like I was trying to learn. So I was lucky in that aspect. We did have new people that had to literally learn the defense over Zoom.
But you guys weren't even in meetings, right? Like, physically, right?
I was sitting in my game room. I would have my
on an iPad or whatever.
I had my laptop up.
Wow.
And then, like, we would literally, like, how we would do it in a facility. Team meeting, everyone's there. Do you break off, and then you got to go put another code in, another Zoom code in or whatever, and then you go to defensive meeting.
Oh, my God.
Then that was done. Then you log off. Then you go to position meetings, and you're there and then it's like, all right, we'll see you guys in an hour and a half, and then you drive to the facility.
And then would you get tested when you got there and everything?
Then you get tested when you would get to the facility, and then you have to wait in your car, and then you go in.
Wow. That was a tough year, man. And it's funny, you look back on the numbers of that year, quarterbacks had the best year ever in the history of the NFL because there's no crowd noise.
I think it actually was the most fun year I've ever had playing football.
Why is that?
Because the real dogs had to come play. There are no crowds. There's nothing to hype you up. It is us and football.
But the quarterbacks, like, you couldn't rely on crowd noise to help, like, because the quarterback numbers were through the stratosphere, like, highest completion percentage ever for these quarterbacks, highest touchdowns ever, lowest interceptions ever, highest point totals ever.
Is that also because of less meeting time? You got to think, though, like, it's less hands-on meeting time for the defenses and stuff, too.
But I feel like defense gains the advantage when there's not as much meeting time.
It depends. Do you have anyone new? Like, because some defenses, like, if you have people that are new and they're trying to learn during the COVID era, like, shit gets tough. But I'm telling you, the whole COVID thing, I remember we played in Pittsburgh, we played in New England, and I remember those two specifically because I'm like, the real dogs come out like right now because there's nothing hyping you up except yourself.
It's just quiet.
It's quiet and it's us.
It's like practice.
You know what I mean? It's us, and that's why I said that's why I feel like you saw the emergence of of certain players because it's just like the bubble. I look at it like the NBA bubble about how some superstars struggled when there was no crowd.
Yeah.
Like some teams struggled when there was no crowd, but then some people rose to the challenge, and that was the same with football.
Well. Was it the next year that you got your new deal?
Yeah, right after COVID. Yeah, 20.
Yeah, so right after COVID, you've been working your ass off for 7 years. You fought your way into the NFL. You found a home. You signed a new deal that you deserved, and then Hackett. Oh no, I'm sorry. Were you here when Hackett was signed?
Yeah, I was here, and then because Hackett came like February, and I got traded March.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So. Take us through that trade and how that went down for you. How were you notified? How did you find out? What was that experience like?
I just got done working out at the Bronco facility, and I remember it was my boy Sosa McTuffin again, who's one of my guys. He was one of my young boys, but I just got done working out. We're eating in the lunchroom. Next thing you know, it says Russell Wilson getting traded to the Broncos. But then the craziest shit,
on the TV?
Yeah, on the TV.
Oh.
Craziest shit ever. Like, we're all, yeah! Like, F yeah! Yeah! Like, yeah, we got a quarterback, yeah!
Damn.
And I look down at my phone.
Oh.
And then George Payton's calling me.
Oh, my God. And he was he upstairs?
Yeah, and so, like, George Payton's calling me, and I turn to Sosa. I'm like, bro, it's no way.
Oh.
Like, there's no fucking way. I'm like, bro, I'm getting traded. I'm getting traded. Instantly, my heart sank. I'm like, because for me, the first thing I thought about was my family. It's very rare for someone to be able to play for 5 years in a city.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But like once you do get over like a couple year hump, be like, all right, I might be here for a while.
Yep.
You just sign a new deal. You're not, you know what I mean? Like you're not about to get traded. So then, I answer and George is like, oh, like, hey, I heard you're here. Can you come upstairs?
Damn.
I'm like, all right, no problem. And then I go upstairs and I just remember this one feeling like everyone's staring at me. And it was just like man, like when I say I cried like a baby, like because I was like, man, this is gonna like mess up everything with my family. Like we have it so good here, like. But then also I'm thinking like, shit, I'm getting traded to the purgatory. Like we're about to be trash in Seattle. Like Russ is like you thinking like you're not thinking like if you're not in, like Russ is the reason. Like
Right.
Russ was the reason.
Right.
And so then like I go up to George and George is like, really like 'cause me and George have a great relationship to this day still. You know what I mean? Like I love George Payton. I think he's great at what he does, and he takes a lot of heat when it's not on him. And George's like, man, I respect the hell out of you, and I love you and everything that you've done for us. But this trade doesn't get done if you're not in it. Like they don't do this trade if you're not in it. And obviously if you find some solace in that. But then I just said thanks, and then I talked to Hackett real quick, but then I just remember just bawling like a baby because my life was about to get flipped upside down, and everything that I had worked for. Because I'm thinking, like, all right, like, really my main thing, and to be truthfully honest, I'm like, man, really, I was like, fuck these guys, because they're finally going to be good, and then I worked my ass off here 5 years.
Yep.
They're going to be good, and they ship me somewhere, and I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to be in purgatory. So then, obviously, like, I'm talking about, like, went through, like, a depressed, like, that whole off season, trying to put on, like, a smile for my family, trying to make it better for them, because I'm not excited at all. Like, not one bit of me at all was excited to go to Seattle. And so then we get up there, and then
how quickly did you go out there? Was it like the
I
next
went
day
out
type
there
of thing?
maybe like a day or two later for the physical. Go up there for the physical.
And your family stayed here, or they came with?
What, for the physical?
Or just just eventually.
So that's a whole.
Yeah.
So I'm blessed that my in-laws moved into our neighborhood. My oldest is a junior in high school now.
Right.
But so she was she would have been a freshman then. And my one thing I always said is I would never move a girl, like in high school. Like once, because girls are, you have to, I feel like you have to keep girls in their space, like for them, and have them mentally doing well. And like, I don't want to do that to my daughter. And so she just went over to her in-laws, to her grandparents, and stayed with them. And then the other kids came up, and we rented a house out there. And then the other one, then the oldest would come for weekends and like holidays and stuff like that. And that's kind of how we have it in Cleveland right now too, because she's a junior now, so she's stuck in her stuff right now. But man, yeah, I went through like a dark place when it came to that Seattle shit. It was like I just remember just the days of just like looking at my wife and being like, dude, like, can I just retire? I was like, can I just retire? Like, I was just like, dude, I just worked so damn hard to just be thrown to a shit team. And then what's crazy is then the Broncos were shit.
Yeah.
And that's why it's like, I guess you can never judge a book by its cover, because that's just me being honest about, like, I was instantly like, we gonna suck.
So that dark period, that depression you were feeling, I mean, did that ease a little bit once you got into camp? You got around your new teammates, and like obviously the Seattle Seahawks under Pete Carroll, he was one of the longest tenured coaches, right? He had this system there, and like he does things his way and all that, and had been very successful. Did you get happier like once you got into the season and started like playing with those guys?
No, I'm not even gonna lie. Like no, like Seattle just wasn't.
Was it too much rah-rah, like sis boom bah shit?
Well, I'm not a rah-rah type of guy. I don't need that type of shit to keep
going.
Come on,
guys, like bouncing around.
No, but Pete was fine. It was just more of like, Seattle's a very depressing city.
It's raining all the fucking time.
Yeah, like
right?
and I'm not even like, it's just like from where my head was when I first got there. That like and like the team was fine. There's nothing wrong. Like the team was, all the guys, the coaches, everybody was fine. Like it was just rainy. It was new, and I think it was nothing that any city I would have went to, other than like obviously like a LA, Miami type joint, like would have been miserable, right? Because just where my head was, like at that time. Because who would have thought that, obviously I'm way happier in Cleveland, Ohio than Seattle, Washington.
Because of the weather, or just because of the?
Just because of where I'm at, like in my head, like I'm just like, it has nothing to do with like. And I also said Seattle, I felt like going into it, it had more to do with.
Just the shock of the
but actually, I guess I started getting happier the more the Broncos were losing.
Yeah,
the better I felt, and I hate saying shit like that, because last year though, I was like, that year in Seattle, I wanted them to go 0-16.
Yeah,
like I'm like, screw these guys. But
you got friends in the locker room, but you don't want them to succeed after they fucking ship you out.
No, I was just like, man, like, because honestly, all you keep hearing, all you were hearing when I first got traded, Russell, but it wasn't even had nothing to do with Russell. It was just Super Bowl.
Oh yeah.
We haven't had any. I was like, we were begging for the playoffs when I was there.
Yeah.
And instantly it's like Super Bowl aspirations. I'm like, dude, like, it just it hurt. And so then obviously I had to get over it, but like I still like I love like everybody up there. Like that's why I almost went back last year. You know what I mean? Like it's nothing. I had to get out of my feelings. You know what I mean, for that little bit of time, but. Like if you ask me about anything about Denver, I have nothing negative to say about anything about my Denver days or anybody up there, because I loved every second of it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what's so hard about leaving, because you did love it so much, right? And so that's like your emotions are very strong. I was here for 6 years myself, 03 to 08, and then when Coach Shanahan got let go and Josh McDaniels came in, he let a bunch of people go. I was one of them. And so I was like, man, I still got a lot of friends there, but fuck that, man. Like it's hard. Those feelings are very conflicted.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that. Like I think that shows how much you do love the city, how much you do appreciate the organization.
I still live here.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing is like, I guess that's what pissed me off the most, is because like we had decided no matter what, like maybe like a year and a half, 2 years before that, like this is gonna be home. Like I'm from Milwaukee. My wife's in the Bay Area. And
what part of the Bay Area?
Fremont.
I'm from San Jose. So.
Oh really? Oh yeah. Fremont.
Yeah.
Fremont, California.
Yeah.
We're actually supposed to go back for her. She has a class reunion coming up. So I haven't been back
high
to
school.
I haven't been back to the Bay in like about since. Because we lived there for a little bit after.
Oh yeah, because you were in Oakland.
Yeah. So he lived there for a little bit after. But once I say 2017 is when we moved to Denver. Like when after that season, I moved here.
Where were you living in the Bay when you were playing for the Raiders?
Alameda.
Okay.
South Shore, baby, right on the
Yeah.
And then I was then we went down to Union City after I was done playing there, and then that's where we were staying at. But Man, I miss the Bay. The
Yeah,
Bay
it's
is
a
one
beautiful
of
place,
the Bay
too.
is one of my favorite. Because then that's another thing. So when I got cut from Oakland, and then that year I wasn't in football, I couldn't even watch football. I was so depressed. And that's when I realized I have to get control of my life, like that. And then after that Denver trade, because football should not be affecting my mental like this.
But it's impossible for it not to, man. You've dedicated your life to it. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
But I'm talking about football games that are on TV. I'm because my wife's a natural Raider fan.
Yeah. Oh,
And,
she is?
Yeah, my wife's a Raider fan, and
That's
so
awesome.
she's like, oh, I want to watch Raider game. I'm just like, all right, I'm gonna leave. You know what I mean? Because this is, it hurts so much because I'm like, dude, I know I'm better than people playing. I should be out there,
Yeah.
and it hurt watching it because so yeah. So it's a couple times where I'm just like, screw football.
So you get traded to Seattle with Noah Fant, with Drew Lock. Did you guys all hang out together? Was it like you guys were brothers from this experience and you hung out together?
Well, we're bonded together now forever for one of the most infamous trades in history.
Who would have thought that it would end up that way? What are your thoughts on why it went so bad here with Russell?
Man, I don't know.
Without being in the locker room, and
It's just it doesn't seem like players and coaches were on the same page. And I feel like if you're going to get Russ, you got to do the shit that Russ is what he excels at.
Yeah.
You can't try to change a 15-year NFL vet. This is who he is. This is what he does. You have to change your offense for who your quarterback is. And I feel like that's also part of the issue with a lot of these coaches. They want they want these players to fit into their system so bad.
Oh, yeah.
They don't realize the system are the players. Your system is a hypothetical thing until you get the players. You don't always get the best fit for your system, so you need to tweak your system to fit your players. And I feel like a lot of coaches don't do that.
Yeah, Sean Payton, I've never sat in the meeting rooms with him, but he wants his quarterback to look at the whole field and do the thing that they taught that week. If it's this coverage, he goes here. If it's this coverage, you go here. If it's this coverage, you go there. Russell isn't that kind of a quarterback. He's kind of he feels it. He feels it out there. He's an improviser. As a defensive lineman, what are the quarterbacks that you like going against versus the ones you don't? Do you like the improvisers, or do you prefer the pocket guys? Who do you like to get after?
Well, everybody likes the statues. If you're a pass rusher, you want a statue back there.
So Tom Brady, for example, statue, but gets rid of the ball.
But the thing is, Tom Brady gets rid of the ball, and Tom Brady is actually one of the best I've ever seen at moving around the pocket and avoiding, buying himself some time in order to let something open up. Tom, funny, I actually got Tom. I have 2 sacks on Tom, but it's one of them was Tom trying to run out the pocket. But you know what I mean? Tom is those type of quarterbacks that stick in the pocket, you have to be good at maneuvering around the pocket. Now, I play Lamar Jackson twice a year. I don't want to play him. You know what I mean? He's a freak.
Yeah.
He's the guy who literally will make the most routine play, but it's not routine at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's routine for him. He'd go off and take off for a 70-yard run and make it look easy. And so those are I'd rather have a quarterback who stays in the pocket, because then also that just opens up a whole different type of offense they can use. The read option comes into play. Then you have quarterback, Baltimore does quarterback power every once in a while, stuff like that. And I wouldn't be surprised if in Pittsburgh you get some packages with Justin Fields of quarterback sweep or quarterback power. You know what I mean? Because we've seen, just like when he was in Chicago, it's effective.
So you mentioned that quarterback battle there in Pittsburgh. Who do you think should be the starting quarterback there?
Well, you brought Russ in and you traded for Justin Fields. I would assume Russ will be the starter until.
Right.
And I'm not, as I say, until he's not.
Yeah.
But I think, if they work it right, you will see. I don't even think it's a resurgence, because you think the last year Russ he had a good year. Statistically, it wasn't terrible.
Statistically, it wasn't terrible, but he in the first half, they never scored in the first half. They couldn't score coming out of their first drive in the second half. He was missing open receivers all the time.
They couldn't run the ball either, though.
That's true.
And that was a big issue.
It's almost like they didn't commit to it. You know what I'm saying?
No, it didn't. They didn't really. But once again, Pete. Remember when he was in Seattle, the whole thing was to run the damn ball. Oh no,
yeah.
run
the ball.
Run the damn ball. But then also in the
Marshawn.
same thing, everyone said let Russ cook.
Right.
Russ
wanted to cook.
But what we realized though is when you run the damn ball, Russ does cook.
Yeah.
So it kind of all goes together.
Yeah.
And Pittsburgh is a big run-first team. So that's why I'm thinking that, like, it will work out for him there because they're not going to try to make him something he's not.
Yeah. It does suit his style there. And here, look, we've always been looking for the next Peyton Manning, or the next John Elway, or the next high-flying offense. It's like, like the fans and the media don't want to win close games where you're grinding it out here. They want big numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, in 2005, we had a really good team. 2005, 2006, 2005, we went to the AFC Championship game. We were winning games, but we would still get booed on offense because it was like 16-12. We were winning, like we weren't putting up a lot of points, but we were winning, right? And we were really good. Like Jake Plummer got replaced when we were 7-3. He got benched, and Jay Cutler got put as the starter, and Jake Plummer never started again. Like, because we weren't winning big enough. It was too close for them, And so I feel like in Denver, they want to see a certain style out of the quarterback. They want to see Peyton Manning numbers. You mentioned earlier about, like, George Payton, how much you love him and how he takes the blame for shit that is not his fault. What do you mean by that?
Well, you got to think about it. He's not the only one making decisions. It was like, you can't say that he was the one that decided to pay Russ all that money. That's when that amount of money is involved, that's ownership. You know what I mean? Like, that's not necessarily the GM.
Why did they give him a new contract in the middle of camp when he was still under contract for 2 years?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Without ever seeing them play a game for them.
Right.
But it's, that's why I'm saying, like, George Payton, he does take a lot of heat, but some decisions are over his head. And, it's just, like, I've always liked George. George is, if you ever talk to George is very smart, no bullshit. Like, I like the way that he operates, and I feel like George, it's easy, like, he's a GM though, so he's going to be the target of. But other than that, what do you think he really has missed on? Other than, like, you could say Randy.
Yeah,
Randy.
But there was pressure to get somebody that year on the edge,
Mm-hmm.
right? And because Vaughn was gone, and so there was a handful of free agents that were available. Chandler Jones didn't work out either.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the other guy? Hassan Reddick. He did. He was like the one guy who.
He was the one guy who really, like, embraced, like, really went all. It made sense.
Yeah.
The deal, but you gotta think is edge rushers. It's more of a bust like thing. Like, if you think about it, when it comes to edge rushers and these big contracts, because you're getting paid all this money, so, like, everyone's going to expect you to put up 15 sacks.
It's all about the sack number.
But then you don't think about it. Like, sometimes these people, they come from different teams. Like, now I'm on the D line with Dalvin Tomlinson, Myles Garrett, Jadarius Smith, Obo. Like, and it's, my numbers would look skewed.
Right.
Compared to, like, if I was just there by myself, like, if I was there with a bunch of young guys.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
you got to roll on the defense.
Yeah.
It's not about the numbers you're putting in. It's about how the unit performs together.
Yeah.
So prior to George Payton being the GM, John Elway was the GM. What was John Elway's presence like, as a front office GM type for the Broncos?
Not gonna lie, did not talk to John Elway that much.
Really?
Well, I was really my first 2 years here when I'd say my first 2 or 3 years when he was really, like, the guy. Like, I was just trying to come up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like we obviously had the pleasantries of, hey, how you doing? But I've definitely had way, like, more intimate conversations with George Payton than I have with John Elway. But that's not. I'm just thinking that's where I was in my career. You know what I mean? I was I wasn't younger, but I had not much experience when I first got here. And then when George kind of got here, I was one of the guys that they were leaning on. You know what I mean? So it's like it's just a whole different dynamic.
So you recently did the broadcast boot camp, right? What is the broadcast boot camp exactly?
It's pretty much just the NFL. It's a workshop for the NFL for people who are interested in doing media, like TV game analysts, radio game analysts, studio analysts, and then podcasting, that type of stuff. And then it's a way for them to learn from people who, like, the pros. Like, you have the real. I did my radio game analyst thing with Sparrow. You know what I mean? Like, like, you know what I mean? Like, and I did my TV one with Paul Burma. Like, and that's why I'm just like, like, you're doing this with the pros, and you're getting feedback from the pros about what you should think about if you're using filler words and you're doing all this stuff. And and it was probably one of the coolest experiences I've had through the NFL. I think it's a very great, very well run, like, boot camp. And I can't say enough good things. It was a great experience. I loved it just because for me, it was my first time it was my first time running through like a game on TV.
Yeah, and you're doing the color stuff, and so you're like talking about what just happened on the play. Yeah, you're seeing it for the first time.
So you're doing they had a series in the first half, series in the second half.
Okay.
And it was obviously the teams flipped offense and defense and stuff, but then it's just getting that experience of maybe doing something you want to do. And I found out that I really love radio. Yeah,
so that's what I was going to
say. My wife tells I have a face for TV, but I have a voice for radio. So,
yeah, so you got to choose.
So that's why I was like, I really ended up really liking radio. And then the cool part about it is they professionally produce all of it. You get all this stuff like after the fact.
Yeah.
You get all your clips and they send it out there, like, stations and stuff. They really, it's a very great networking boot camp. It's great because you got to think, you got guys like Mark Sanchez was there talking to us, and Rich Eisen was there the first day talking to, like, everybody, like, people really showed up to just. It always means a lot when people go into their own time to help.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It shows you how important the stuff is.
Well, so you're going into year 11. You're starting to think about what's coming next, right? A lot of guys, that next thing happens so fast because the careers are so short. They don't know what the fuck to do. They don't know what to do with their lives because they've never developed a different skill. And a lot of times, you'll get cut. You'll spend the next year or two trying to get back in. By the time you realize it's over, your money's starting to go away a little bit, and you don't have a plan, right? So do you try to pull young guys aside? I mean, what kind of conversations happen in the locker room about what happens next?
Man, I'm real big on, just thinking about your future. And because you got to think, this too, as a player. Growing up, playing football, and once you get like high school, college, our only worth is football.
Yeah.
And they make sure that, when you go to college, you don't have time for internships. You don't have time for anything other than football. They even tell you in a lot of schools, you can't do a certain major because it takes up too much time and you'd miss practice. Like, we can't have that happen. And so if you're just being taught that your whole, you're growing up high school, college, you get to the league, let's just say you do a year or two. Now what? Yeah. I don't have any skills other than football. Right. I wasn't allowed to develop anything other than football. So it's just depression. And it's that's why you see so much, like, so many sad stories about players after they're done, because no one's ever taught them skills other than football or any other life skills other than football. Because, football's a different animal with how they brainwash us into thinking that, like, we're literally only as good as we are as a football player.
Yeah. Your entire self-worth is what you're doing on the field.
Yes, 100%.
Which is why you got so depressed when you were out of the game, when you started with the Raiders, that 16 weeks you spent out in year 3, why you couldn't watch football, and why a lot of guys can't watch football when they're done playing.
No, it's tough. And so then, like, you go and you really just – so my biggest thing I try to tell the young guys, I'm just like, man, you got to find out who you are outside of football. And – you got to find out who you are outside of what comes with football, and like a lot, it's just, young guys, single, want to go out, party, be around girls and stuff. But
First couple years, that's normal.
Yeah, that's normal. You know what I mean? But then eventually it's just like, well, what are your plans after football? Like, what are your goals? Like, okay, you want to make a bunch of money, cool, but still,
yeah, money.
Everybody, but like, what are you going to do after?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm real big on just trying to have the young guys, like, I want them to learn from my mistakes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, don't do some dumb shit that I did before. You know what I mean? And it's just, like, keep your mouth shut. Like, some things is like, don't even say shit. Like, coaches be saying some shit. Yeah. Because the one thing I always say to them is this, is like, you could say some off the wall shit to a coach, and, he might get fired or whatever, but he'll have another job. And then he'll remember what you said.
Yeah.
And then they'll be like, yeah, we don't want him for this. Coaches hold grudges.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? And
they can coach a lot longer than you can play.
Yes, 100%. But I just think it's big on trying to help the kids learn that, like, you're bigger than football. What's your next step going to be? Save your money. I'm real, because I used to be, I was NFL PA rep. Save your money, invest in a 401k. Like, use the programs the NFL, like, you got to look at it like this, just like I look at, like civil rights and voting. We had people who died and, like, fought for our right to vote. Just same thing like football. You have literally the people that came before us that have died, like the insurance issues, all this, that have died, that have literally have bled, have struggled.
Can't get the benefits they need.
Yes, can't get the benefits. Use them.
So
like
why
people didn't even vote for it's ridiculous. People didn't even vote for the damn CBA.
That's what I was gonna say.
And that's what I'm like, dude. Like, what are we doing? Like it's like we're getting ways to get our voice out there, and we're not using it. You know?
Why is the union not making decisions that benefit former players as much as they are trying to fatten the pockets of current players and get as much money as possible? Like you're going to be a former player for a lot fucking longer than you were a current player. We talked about the average career 2.8, and then for the rest of your life you're a former player. Yeah. That's when you really need it. You know what I mean? Because all the doctors that watch you work every day when you're at work on a team, they're all gone. Well, people that say to create your appointments for you and a nutrition, those are all gone, man. You got to do it all on your own, and the resources aren't there for former players, or at least they're getting better. But like, why don't current players, or at least why doesn't someone impress upon the current players how important it is to create benefits for the former players?
So the issue with football is that the pay is so spread out. You have people making
the haves and the have-nots.
800,000 versus 30 million.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And what can a person making 30 million tell someone that's making 800,000 about what they need to do? About you know what I mean. So that's what they want, though.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because there's no unity. I always say there's no unity in NFL because the teams are too big. It's impossible to get 53. Now I think it's like 68 because I think it's 15 practice squad. 68 people to agree on something. And so, and I feel like, people, owners and stuff, they play off that.
Yeah.
Just like the CBA. We had over almost 1,000 people didn't vote. I think 800 people didn't vote.
Why? They just couldn't be bothered? Or they just didn't have the
information?
People
voted because, the reason, go answer your question about why the former players keep getting screwed is because they keep promising the younger players more. So that's why you keep getting yeses from the younger players because they're increasing their salaries. They're doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
They made it less years to vest. And, so yes, but then they did that to take the stuff away from the former players. But then the young players don't realize they're going to be former players.
And their money's going to be gone.
Yes,
at some point. That money doesn't last forever. I mean, some guys, have a 10-year career and they're able, but most of the guys, man, that money's going to last you 5 to 7 years.
Even if you come out in the NFL with $1 million, that's supposed to last you for the rest of your life.
It doesn't.
And you have to start over in your career.
Yeah, a new career.
Or you have what I always tell most players, I'm like, it's best if you just branch off of this career and network and from someone you met and then go into another career seamlessly like that. But most people, they it's a adjustment period.
Yeah.
And they don't know what they're going to do. And then, but this is why people This topic will drive me crazy because it's, even though what's obvious, what's best for you is right in front of you.
Yeah,
you got people doing all this other crap it's pointless. It's a wild. It's in general. It just doesn't make any sense why.
Well, it's like funny money, and it's not real life, man. It's this wild roller coaster ride, and everything's speed and adrenaline and fast and hard, and how tough are you? And here's more money, and smash him, and you're on TV, and there's you go to these fancy parties, and there's crazy money everywhere. And it's just it creates a sense of vertigo, right, in your decision making process, and you need several years under your belt before you start to slow down the pace in your mind and be able to see those decisions as bad or good, right?
Yeah.
And so it's really good that you're still playing, man, because you're in that locker room and you can impart some of this wisdom on the young bucks who need it, man.
Well, we have an extremely young team too. You know what I mean? Like we have our vets. I'm the second oldest on the defense. We got Rodney McLeod, the safety who he's been around. I'm year 11. He's year 13.
Wow.
So, you know what I mean? So it's like I'm the oldest on the D line, and my goal is like we have to help out the young guys because they don't know what they don't know.
Yeah.
And we've obviously been through it, and I'm always been a big sayer of is enough money out there for everybody. There's no need to hate. We can all help each other, and we can all find a way to get paid.
Yep.
There's 31 other teams out there with a checkbook. You know what I mean? And I think that's the biggest thing is because players get the wrong idea. We're not in competition with each other. The only person you're in competition with is yourself. yourself. You are your only competition. The minute you start worrying about what other players are doing is the minute you're going to start making mistakes.
Yep.
You only have to focus on yourself and your performance, and then let everything else handle itself. But stop worrying about what the next man is doing, and stop looking in the other man's pocket about, like, he has money. Oh, they're going to keep him. Oh, they're going to sign him. Like, no. Just go out there and do what you need to do. Yep. Because if you think you can't, you can't.
Yep.
Like, if you think you can't, you can't. And that's how I literally live my life. Like, if you instantly go into something thinking you're going to lose, you lost.
Well, shit, man. Really appreciate you coming and joining. Dumb Jock number 3, man.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, and shoot, year 11, we're going to be watching you in Cleveland. Hope it goes well. Whenever you're done, and take it as long as you can. But whenever you're done, the media's game is going to be waiting for you, man.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Right on, Shelby. Thank you. That's it for Dumb Jock. We'll see you next time.